The format is called Pichakcha, which is Japanese for chit chat.
We've
So
been
you learned
practicing that
something
for the
today
last half
already?
an hour.
Okay, well, Joe.
Okay, so the first person we have here tonight is going to talk about the R word. Does anybody know what the R word is? I was thinking about that for a really long time. So Rebecca is going to come and talk to us about the R word. So welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, just to give you a little context about where I'm coming from today, I've worked pretty much all my career in social care, and the majority of that has been spent working with people with intellectual disabilities, from frontline work up to running NGOs that deliver those kinds of services. So that's the kind of context that I'm going to be talking to you in today. So, the R word. I'm talking about the word retard or retarded, or not so much the words as, are they looking good, as the use of those words to convey derision. I'm sure we've all heard people say things like, don't be such a retard, or that's friggin' retarded. So what's really interesting about these words is that they actually have a legitimate meaning. So in preparing for tonight, I went to the Oxford English Dictionary, online obviously, and I'm just going to turn here, and the Oxford Dictionary says it means to delay or hold back in terms of progress or development. Sorry, I didn't memorise that definition. But when we think about those two sentences that I mentioned before, that's not really what people are trying to convey when they say things like that, is it? No, they're saying it's rubbish, it's shit, it's crap. And the reason that these words have developed that connotation is because of their association with a particular group of people. And the connotation that this particular group of people is a bad thing to be like them. And I'm talking about people with intellectual disabilities. So how did this whole association actually arise? Well, intellectual disability used to be called mental retardation, thus the association. And I put up the definitions on the next couple of slides of mental retardation and the new one of intellectual disability, because that's new language, yay. I'm not going to actually go into what it means to have an intellectual disability, because quite frankly that's a whole nother talk in and of itself. But what I want you to get from this is that we're talking about a group of people with significant impairments in their cognitive functioning and in their daily living skills. So I wanted to prove this association to you, and I went online and did a Google search doing retard and image. And this is what I came up with, and it's not the worst of it, and I was pretty shocked, but it's pretty clear the negative stereotyping that is going on, the negative messages. Now, I know some people might say, yeah, but when I use the word like that, that's not really what I'm trying to say. And you know what? I can identify with that. I have this really clear memory of when I was a kid, sitting watching a television program and turning to my mum and saying, oh, that show's retarded. And my mum sat me down and said, look, you really can't use words like that, because people used to use those words to talk about your classmates, Jessie and Kim. And I didn't know any better. I was just using the words that the kids in the playground were using to say this is a bit shit. But the problem is there really are people out there using those words in exactly the way that I'm describing. And here's another story. A friend of mine, his, well, then fiancée, now soon to be ex-wife, because she's a bitch. No, really. She was telling this story about how she got really drunk, and yeah, she was stumbling around the bridge like a retard. And of course, being the person that I am, I said something, said, you know, you can't really say that, this is a different language we use, intellectual disability. Her response, fine then. Yeah, I was really drunk and I was stumbling around like a person with an intellectual disability. Yeah. And what made it worse was the fact that she was working as a nurse in a school for people with intellectual disabilities at the time. Yeah, like I said, she's a bitch. So anyway, hopefully, as I've been speaking, you've been noticing that I've been putting up all these photos of these amazing people that I've worked with during my career. And they really are people I've worked with, not just randoms off the internet. And I would love to be able to tell you their stories, but don't have time. But the real reason I wanted to put them up there is just convey that we're talking about real people here. This isn't just conceptual and philosophical. These are real people being used to convey derision, and there's something not right about that. And there's been lots of campaigning on this. The R word isn't my term. It's actually a campaign that's out there in America, certainly, and in the UK. And I put up one from MenCap in the UK. I know that one because I used to run Greenwich MenCap, and so I work quite closely on this campaign. And what I like about it is the fact that it's reinforcing that this is about people with with intellectual disabilities saying, no, this is offensive. And it's about people, and that people and people. Now, there are some people who will say, yeah, but they don't understand. You know, it's just people telling them that this is something they should be offended by. So that I call bullshit. And actually saying that is completely offensive because it's saying they can't understand. Now, I've got a quote up here from someone with an intellectual disability talking about their experience. Does it sound like someone who's just parroting what they've been fed? No, this is someone standing up and saying, this is my experience and I don't like it. It was scary and it's not right. So there's another thing that people also challenge me on. They also say, you know, but isn't it all a bit hyper-PC? You know, we started out with mentally handicapped, now we're talking about mental retardation, now that's not right, you know. Well, yeah, why is that a problem? Why is it a problem that language evolves? And actually, it's really important that it does because we keep corrupting language. I keep changing it so that, you know, it has these negative connotations, and that means that we can't use it anymore in the clinical terms that it was intended, because now it's been going into this offensive terminology. So this has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the R word, and there's much more that I could say, but there's kind of three things that I'm hoping that you're going to take away from this, and that is that people are people, not their diagnosis, that words matter, and that even if you don't find it offensive, there are people in the world who do find the word retard offensive, and some of those people are the people who are being used in this negative manner. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rebecca.